This is a young mare that I was working with. This is how I start all of them. Pretty quiet. We've done some groundwork already before this. I just let her chew on my saddle and kind of get to know it. Try to be just pretty quiet. Let her see that it's nothing to be scared of. I think that's a really important thing that a lot of people kind of jump past. So then I'm just kind of going to work her around the saddle a little bit. I'd only just worked her. This was the first day I'd worked her at all or met her. She was somebody else's horse. They were letting me use for a colt starting video. She was never saddled before, never had a rider on, anything like that. I think she was 3 years old. So this is something we'd worked with previously in the arena, was just, one lunging. But this video we're focusing just on the saddling. And I'm gonna just sit here and kind of send her between myself and the saddle, and do some turnarounds and send her on the outside of the saddle, the inside of the saddle, just kind of all around, getting her desensitized, and just for her to realize that there's nothing to be afraid of. And also she's struggling to focus. You can tell she's looking at something over at the other barn. So I'm just going to kind of keep her feet moving and keep my energy pretty low at this point, and just kind of show her that I'm worth her attention, and the saddle and what's happening is more important than what's going on in the other barn. So I'm just going to kind of send her between me and the saddle. The saddle's, scary, if you will. And so by sending her between me and the saddle, it's kind of adding pressure. And every time she goes through there, she's going to kind of realize it didn't attack her. And the more we do that, the better she'll get. You saw she got a little worked up there and wanted to run around. It's important not to let them just keep running. You want to stop their feet, turn them, send them again. So I'm going to do this quite a bit with her. There she goes again. She kind of just ran through me. So I'm just going to stop her. I'm telling her it's okay. And then I'm going to send her again. And it's not a big deal if that happens. You just get them to stop their feet and try again, and they will get it eventually. And you can see she's got an ear on me. She was pretty fun horse to work with. I was actually really, really lucky. I didn't know if I was going to be able to have one that I could work with start to finish in 2 days, about 4 hours total, and get her from never being saddled to saddle and walk, trot, canter in the arena. And she did it. She didn't even buck once or anything. She was a rock star. So I'm just trying to move her out. Might look like I'm whacking her there, but I'm really not. I'm just making light contact. I'm trying to get her out of my space. She backed out of camera view there. Just trying to get her focused. She's super, super distracted here. So I'm just going to keep moving her feet around until she's ready to focus. And you can tell my energy is pretty low. I'm just kind of trying to be relaxed and waiting for her to tell me she's kind of ready to move on to the next phase. And this was the first time we'd ever worked in this round pen, and the round pen is super, super slippery. It was this like a clay ground, and it was not the best. She was slipping and sliding all over the place, but I wanted to use the round pen because the arena was pretty huge, and this gave me a little bit better opportunity. And I actually thought I was going to put my first ride on out there, and I decided against it because it was so sloppy. And she licks and chews there. Once I feel like she's kind of listening to me enough, I move on to the saddling. So again, I show her the saddle pad, let her smell it, nibble it if she wants to. I'm being paranoid about not being able to be seen in the camera. Sorry. Alright, and so I'm just going to touch her all over with it. And again, this is the first time she's ever seen these. Seen a pad, seen a saddle. I'm going to put it under her belly, on her legs, over her neck, over her back, all over her. And if she moves her feet, I'm going to keep doing it until she stops moving her feet. She actually took it pretty stoically. It's a pretty easy horse to do with that. And then I'm going to go ahead and walk her around, I think.
Probably no different than a stable.
I think I walk her around. I should walk her around. Just to let her kind of feel the saddle pad moving around. I'm not worried about her spooking the saddle pad off. If she does spook the saddle pad off, it's not a big deal. We will just go back, grab the pad, and try again. She obviously didn't freak out, so I wasn't worried about it. I don't usually run them around with the saddle pad on because then it will fall off. I just make them move their feet a little bit just so they can feel that there's something up there. And then I do the same thing with the saddle. I let her see it, bite it, chew it, whatever she's gonna do. And I try to touch them with it all over. Obviously it's hard because they're bulky and awkward. But I do try to, at the very least, kind of touch their shoulder, neck area with it and their side. Just so they know it's not gonna bite them. And then I try to be pretty noisy with it. I'm shaking it there. I want her to hear all the rattling and know that it's nothing to be afraid of. And again, if she was to spook a lot, I would continue to do it until her feet stop moving, and then I would release the pressure. So again, I'm doing that on purpose. I'm kind of obnoxiously trying to let her know it's coming, and I'm not being too quiet about it. I'm kind of flopping it around up there. And then I switch sides. Again, same thing I did on the other side. And this was kind of a big deal for me too because I was out of practice. I hadn't even been working a horse or riding a horse for probably about 2 years prior to doing this quick little start on this mare. And I'm just like that. Saddle on for the first time. She didn't even move her feet, which is what we want to see. Wiggle it around, make sure she knows it's up there, make sure lots of noise is being made. And she's just super awesome and quiet. And I'm gonna shake around the cinch. That's okay. She kind of, roached her back up a little bit. That's perfectly fine. We're just gonna. So since she did that, and since she stopped moving her feet and relaxed, I took the saddle and pad off. That's her reward for not being a nut. And then I'm gonna do it again. This is the part, well, one of the parts of colt starting that gets a little exhausting, and you do a lot of saddling, on, off, and then when you go to the first ride, again, it's the same thing. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, until you just think you're gonna die. Eventually the horse, I think, thinks the same thing.
Seriously acting like you've done this a million times.
And I go a little faster the second time since she's seen it before. And I just watch her. I kind of let her pick the speed. If she isn't balking at the saddle, isn't, nervous at all, then I put it on. If she's nervous, then we keep working. Every horse is different, Some of them you can move a little faster, some of them you can't. Again, I'm just kind of wiggling the latigo and the cinch, and she's handling it like a trooper, so I let it flop down. And she didn't even flinch that time. So I think I go ahead and cinch her at that point because she's being pretty quiet and telling me she's ready. I apologize, I'm doing this voiceover a little after this video was made, so it's not completely fresh in my mind. So I'm just gonna rattle and shake the cinch. I don't do any of this stuff quiet. I physically am quiet, but I try to be loud with the saddle and with the cinch, and you really want them to hear all those sounds. If they're gonna freak out and blow up and buck, I would much rather them do it right now than when I go to get on them or go to get off of them. I always tighten up the cinch the first time, basically just tight enough so that if, they did blow up or something, the saddle's not going to fall off right away. But I never, suck it into them or anything like that. I go pretty light. And actually, I think this cinch was huge on her, so I ended up not doing very much at all. I just ran her around a little bit. And I had planned on putting the first ride on her today, but I ended up having to come back the next day with a new setup because the saddle was it was swimming on her. And I've mentioned this in other videos, I intentionally don't saddle or tie my horses when I saddle them the first time in case they do blow up. And I want them to figure out that the right answer is just to stand there, chill, no big deal. So so now that the cinch is on there tight now, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get her to move her feet a little bit to see if she is going to blow up. And I just want her out of my space in case she blows up. I don't want to be in a danger zone. So I kind of try to keep her like a stick's length away. And I send her out. And she doesn't blow up, which is great. They really shouldn't blow up if you go about it slow and good. You know, it's not new if you do it slow and quiet. So there's really no reason to expect them to blow up. I have had them blow up though and take me completely by surprise. So again, every horse is different. And sometimes they'll be fine walk trot, and then you go and lope them and they'll kick out a couple bucks just because. So that's important to get them moving. I think someone's going by on a tractor or something behind us, so she's kind of lost her interest, but she's doing all right. I'm just gonna move her both directions around, make sure she's not too scared. I don't know that I don't think I lope her out here because it's so slippery. But I do the next day when I take her into the arena and do her first ride, I make sure I walk, trot, and canter her before I get on her, just to make sure she's not going to do anything silly. And I think she does buck just a tiny bit in the arena the next day, but it's not much. It's like one little hop and then she's done. And I don't think it was fear, it was just kind of a yeehaw. But that's the whole point, is you want them to get that out of their system when you're not on them. And disengage your hindquarters, pull her in. And she just took to this whole saddling thing like a total champion. And then again, I want to whack on everything and make lots of noise. Make sure she's really good with everything. A lot of times too, I will grab the saddle and kind of push my weight into it. See there, I found somewhere she kind of flinched, so I kept doing it until she stopped flinching. And then walk her around is her reward. But I'll push on the saddle and try to knock them off balance a little bit. Just try to do anything you can think of that might happen to them when you're going to mount or dismount. I plan to do a follow-up video of a couple things I do with horses prior to the first ride also. So here I'm asking her to flex. I had worked on this a little bit with her already. I will not get on a horse until they can flex like this, both sides, soft and easy. This is your emergency stop, so if you got on and things went south, you can always pull them in. So if your horse isn't soft and supple and easy to bend like this, you're going to be asking for trouble. And I think that pretty much brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching.